Good day and welcome back to Royal News Daily, where royal protocol collides with political reality and behind-the-scenes maneuvering is never quite as invisible as the palace hopes. Now picture this. The monarchy insists everything is calm, stable, and under control. Yet senior royals suddenly start appearing everywhere at once. More engagements, more statements, more carefully staged unity. When that happens in politics, we call it crisis management. When it happens in a monarchy, we call it tradition. But let us be honest, this looked like a royal fire drill. Before we unpack why Denmark's most experienced royals are quietly stepping forward to steady the crown, subscribe to Royal News Daily and click the notification bell. Because when institutions start circling the wagons, the real story is never on the surface. Let's set the context. Denmark's royal family has weathered a relentless series of pressures over the past few years. Title stripping, family rifts, media controversies, a historic abdication, a new king still finding his footing. Each issue on its own was manageable. Together, they created a perfect storm, the kind that does not topple institutions overnight, but slowly erodes confidence. And confidence is the monarchy's real currency. As scrutiny intensified, something subtle but significant began to happen. Senior royal figures, experienced, familiar, and publicly trusted, increased their visibility. More appearances, more ceremonial duties, more symbolic gestures of continuity. This was not random. This was strategic. In Australian political terms, this was the equivalent of rolling out veteran ministers during a turbulent election cycle. You do not send the newcomers to calm the public. You send the steady hands. Queen Margrethe, even after abdication, remained an emotional anchor. Her presence at select events reassured a public still adjusting to her absence from the throne. King Frederik leaned into tradition, emphasizing duty and restraint. Queen Mary increased her engagement visibility, projecting calm amid speculation. Together, they formed a stabilizing front. But why was this necessary? Because scandals, even when legally resolved or officially dismissed, leave residue. They create uncertainty, and uncertainty is dangerous for institutions built on continuity. The palace understood this instinctively. Rather than responding loudly to each controversy, they responded visually, with presence. However, presence without narrative has limits. The public noticed the shift. Commentators began describing a monarchy in damage control mode, not collapsing but bracing. And once that framing takes hold, every action is interpreted through a defensive lens. Here is where it becomes truly political. Modern monarchies are not judged by power, but by relevance. They must justify their existence through symbolism, service, and public trust. When scandals accumulate, even minor ones, they invite a larger question. Is this institution still aligned with the values it represents? That question has been quietly echoing in Denmark. The palace's response, deploying senior figures, suggests an awareness that newer faces alone cannot carry the burden right now. Crown Prince Christian, still young and under scrutiny, is being carefully shielded. Prince Joachim remains overseas, symbolizing unresolved internal tension. That leaves the veterans to hold the line. From a strategic standpoint, it makes sense. From a public perception standpoint, it signals strain. Australians will recognize this pattern. When leadership teams rely heavily on experienced figures, it reassures some while alarming others. It raises the question of succession readiness. Is the next generation prepared, or are they being protected because the moment is not yet safe? That question hangs over Denmark's monarchy. Meanwhile, the media has shifted tone. Coverage is no longer purely celebratory or critical. It is analytical, watchful. Articles ask whether the monarchy is adapting fast enough, communicating clearly enough, and responding humanly enough. This is not rebellion. It is expectation. And expectations have changed. The monarchy's instinct has long been discretion. Say less. Reveal less. Endure quietly. But in an age of constant commentary, silence is rarely neutral. It becomes a canvas for speculation. The senior royals stepping forward may steady the ship, but they cannot rewrite the narrative alone. What they can do is buy time. Time for King Frederik to define his leadership style. Time for the palace to recalibrate its communication strategy. Time for unresolved family tensions to cool, or at least fade from headlines. Time for the monarchy to remind the public why it exists beyond ceremony. The risk, however, is overexposure. Too much visibility can feel like overcompensation. Too much emphasis on unity can highlight the fractures it is meant to conceal. Balance is everything. And this